Hey, I'm Mark. I'm a history teacher and I'm going rogue.
And I'm also M. Timothy Haggard, author of The Harlot Princess, Rahab's Journey from Iniquity to Royalty, in online form and paperback form at your Amazon Kindle bookstore. I put the link in the description. Last time we were together, we looked at the archaeology of the city of Jericho, the Jericho of the Bible, whose walls supposedly came tumbling down. Well, let's dig a little deeper. Dig, because archaeology. Into what was discovered by the archaeologist Jericho. Let's go rogue. Many biblical historians believe that the Israelites entered the land of Canaan in the 15th century BC, and contrary to the book of Joshua and Judges and the rest of the Old Testament, settled among the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, and the rest, peacefully, filling in the spaces between the existing cities. Ultimately, the Israelites became the largest group in Canaan and absorbed everyone else into what became the Kingdom of Israel, the Kingdom of David, and the Kingdom of Solomon. Samson didn't kill 3,000 Philistines with the jawbone of an ass. David didn't slay Goliath with a sling and a stone. God did not bring down the walls of Jericho. Those were only stories.
Well, let's look at some history. An Armenian historian of the 4th century, Moses of Corinth, uncovered 2 columns found in North Africa with an inscription written in Phoenician letters. We are they that fled from before the face of Joshua, the robber, the son of Nun. This find was confirmed in the 6th century by a Greek historian, Procopius of Caesarea. Later Greek historians asserted that the inhabitants of the Balearic Islands were Canaanites that fled from the Israelites under Joshua, son of Nun. So how did these people get from the land of Canaan to North Africa and the Balearic Islands off the coast of Spain? If the Israelites were coming from Egypt to the south, the Canaanites would retreat to the north into Phoenicia. The Venetians had built an extensive trade network across the Mediterranean. Remember Hannibal taking battle elephants across the Alps to fight the Romans? Well, Hannibal was from the city of Carthage, which originated as a Phoenician colony. In the last video, we looked at the 4 major archaeological excavations of ancient Jericho by Germans Sellen and Watzinger between 1907 and 1911, a British excavation by John Garstang in the 1930s, by Kathleen Kenyon in the 1950s, and an Italian excavation led by Lorenzo Nigro in the 1990s. Remember, all 4 excavations agreed that 1, this was the site of the ancient city of Jericho, 2, the walls fell down and out, piling up against the ramparts, 3, jars full of barley were found throughout the city, 4, there was a massive burn layer throughout the tell, 5, there was an abandonment layer above the burn layer, and 6, there was another layer showing Israelite occupation. Let's go back to Jericho.
Jericho's defenses were based around a system of walls. An exterior wall surrounded the entire city, and a second wall surrounding the city center. If an army could breach the outside barrier, they would be stuck between both walls, and the city's defenders could be shooting the proverbial fish in a barrel. I don't recommend that. But the exterior wall was formidable. Its base was a 12 to 15 foot retaining wall, which was topped by another 15-foot high wall. So an army immediately faced a vertical barrier 20 to 30 feet high, topped with defenders, armed to the teeth with bows, arrows, javelins, pikes, and other pointy objects. How could an attacker defeat that? Only by divine intervention. So, circle, 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 yell, and walls fall down. After the walls fell, how did the Israelites surmount the 12 to 15 foot high retaining wall at the base of the tell? Joshua 6:20 says that the wall fell down flat. The Hebrew says that the walls fell beneath itself. Archaeological evidence shows that the city walls collapsed and was deposited at the base of the retaining wall at the time that the city met its end. On the west side of the tell, at the base of the retaining wall, Kathleen Kenyon found fallen red bricks piling nearly to the top of the revetment. These probably came from the brickwork above the revetment. In other words, she found a heap of bricks from the fallen city walls. Nigro's Italian team, excavating at the southern end of the mound in 1997, found the same thing. The Bible is very precise in its description of how the Israelites entered the city. The people went up into the city, every man straight in for himself, using the heap of bricks as a ramp to breach the revetment wall. Here's another thought, just spitballing here. Why did the walls fall outward? An earthquake would cause the bricks to fall randomly, or in the Rift Valley, the bricks would fall towards the east as a tectonic plate below shifted violently to the west. If the walls were destroyed by an attacking army, say the Egyptians, wouldn't the bricks fall inward after being battered from the outside? Maybe the Egyptians used bricks to pull the walls down and outward. That would be tough to do with the defenders of the cities hurling arrows and javelins and spears, and some historians believe slushy, down upon them. And what was up with the full jars of barley? That indicates that the citizens of Jericho were well prepared for an attack. A huge spring inside the city walls provided plenty of water for it, and at the time of the attack, the harvest had just been taken in. So the citizens had an abundant supply of food. Jericho could have held out against an attacking army for perhaps more than a year. It fell after a short time, 7 days, according to the book of Joshua. Well, how do we know? The archaeologists discovered many storage jars full of grain in the burn layer of the city. The jars found were full, showing that the siege was short, since people inside the walls consumed very little of the grain that they had. Grain was valuable, both as a source of food and as a commodity to be bartered. Under normal circumstances, valuables such as grain would have been plundered. But the digs at Jericho revealed full jars of grain left in the city. Left! Why? Well, Joshua ordered that the city and all that was inside was to be dedicated to God as a first fruit. The digs reveal that very fact. The Israelites were free to plunder any other city in the Promised Land, but not Jericho. The only thing not destroyed, according to the digs, was a structure along the north wall of the city. The German excavations starting in 1907 found that on the north, a short stretch of lower city wall did not collapse as everywhere else. An 8-foot-high portion of that mud brick wall was still standing. Well, Rahab's home, like many others, was built against this exterior wall. According to the book of Joshua, God spared Rahab's life in exchange for harboring 2 Israelite spies. Her home was not destroyed in the destruction. Is the 8-foot-high segment of wall on the north end of the city Rahab's home? So, The Harlot Princess, Rahab's Journey from Iniquity to Royalty by M. Timothy Haggard. Get your copy today from the Amazon bookstore. I put the web address in the comments below. Hey, thanks for coming by. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. If I did it right, you did both. Hey, I had fun, but I'll quit my day job. And remember me. I'm M. Timothy Haggard. I'm a history teacher. And I've gone rogue.